So, what's going on, Facebook fam, friends and family, especially in Baltimore? I'm really addressing something that my boy Matthew said. That this is somebody that I respect a lot. Matthew Palmer, I respect his growth and everything, and it's in response to how Matt feels about situations deteriorating in Baltimore, and a lot of people feel as though rather than fix the problems, just move out of Baltimore. I can speak on behalf of understanding where Matt is coming from, but also someone who moved out of Baltimore himself. And, he's right when he made the statement, moving out of Baltimore solves your problem. But it doesn't solve anything for the city as a whole. So I think I'm going to get more so into the reasons why I moved. I moved, man, because I just felt like I moved at a time where Atlanta was booming. This is like early 2000s when the hip hop scene of Atlanta, like basically I met a guy, or all right, put it like this. I already had cousins in Atlanta. My cousin Moochie, Leroy Brown, had daughters, Nancy Brown and Terry Brown, already in Atlanta. I think I'm not sure. I think I met like Terry in like 98. And she said that she was from Decatur. And me and my brother, we watched a lot of hip hop. We watched a lot of BET. So we saw Ghetto Mafia, and they were from Decatur. And she said she was from Decatur. And we said, oh, you from the deck and all this like that. And that's the last time I saw her. Then around 2000, after I got out of school, 2000, 2001, around that time when Ludacris and Little John and all them were blowing up, I had always done hip hop. I had always rapped and everything. And everybody said, look, man, I was watching BET and DJ Jelly from Big Oomp, which is like a local kind of regional DJ, a group of hip hop artists and local artists in Atlanta. They were on BET with Tigger, and he said, look, man, going to New York and going to LA for a record deal is not the move. Come to Atlanta. And so it just seemed like for me, it was Atlanta. And it wasn't just about moving from Baltimore. It was about more so of me wanting to accomplish a particular thing. And Atlanta was where it was at. So I had a guy from Detroit by way of Memphis, and he was living over east. I used to live over St. Clair, Moravia in Parkside Gardens, and he was telling me all about Atlanta. Like, yo, that's the place to go. It's like a black man's Mecca. You can go down there and get a record deal, and you can find a job. It was just all different type of things. And like, for me growing up in Baltimore, I didn't really know that Baltimore was like this bad, and it was a certain amount of statistics and when The Wire was created and all that. I just thought that growing up, you had good sides and you had bad sides of Baltimore. I couldn't really analyze it like this is a drug problem and this is this and this is the ratio to this. I just figured like if you lived on this side, this was going to happen. If you was in this neighborhood, this was going to happen. Because it's certain, like you can live up Park Heights. You go to Jewtown and you go to certain parts of Pikesville and all the way up to Owens Mills, you don't see nothing. But you go on Belvedere, you go on certain concentrated areas, you're going to see a high crime situation. You're going to see dilapidated buildings, depending on where you are in particular. You know what I'm saying? So I just never saw it that way. I just moved from Baltimore because it was a lot of stuff going on, man, with me. You know what I mean? It was like, I was basically banging. I knew some cats from Chicago, some cats from New York. They were Crips, and some of them were Gangster Disciples. I got down with the Gangster Disciples. Trouble was like brewing. I always had family problems. Never was really close to my family like that. So it's just hard. Like when you come up in a situation where, when you in your household, you see fighting, you see your parents fighting, and you fighting with relatives, and you fighting with family. Then you go out in the street and you got to fight your way through the streets. And then you walking down the street, law enforcement is messing with you. So it was too much going on. So I used to work at Mary's. It was like I was working at Mary's and then I was doing certain stuff. You know what I mean? street stuff. I wasn't deep in the street, but doing little knucklehead, get yourself killed stuff to a certain extent. And I just got tired. You know what I'm saying? Plus, I wanted to do music. So my cousin Kylie had folk down in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? And I had cousins in Atlanta. And one time when I was working at Mary's, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with the money. I was just going to do something dumb. I had like $1,000, like $1,000. I was going to do something dumb, buy something. But something was like, yo, take a trip. And then that's when I contact my cousin Moochie, Leroy Brown, who lives out here, contacted my cousins. They said, come down. And then when I came down, they was like, man, you can move down here. They actually wanted me to move down there. You see what I'm saying? To get away from stuff. So a couple of things happened. Some dude, my brother said some dude ran up in my mother's house. Then we ran up in their house. It was a whole lot of stuff going on. So that's why I had to move. And even when I did move, I got locked up in South Carolina because, and I think that Matt made a very valid point, because it got to start with you. Because what was happening was that even though I left Baltimore, some of those tendencies were still in me. Some of the way that some of the ways that I responded to disrespect was similar. Some of the hurt, some of the pain, some of the frustration, I still carried it with me. So that wasn't going to solve anything. It wasn't really until I went to prison in South Carolina and became a Jehovah's Witness or a Christian where it really made a difference. Because what was funny was, like, after all this happened, every time I tried to go back to Baltimore to visit, something would stop me. But once I got myself together spiritually, then I was going in and out of Baltimore like it wasn't nothing, because then my lifestyle changed. So that's just my perspective of it. Everybody can't move away from Baltimore. It has to be some people that stays there and holds it down and makes a better community. Like, I'm sitting back here. One time it was Black History Month, and it's so many figures that came out of the city of Baltimore. I mean, Baltimore was a conscious place. All down Pennsylvania Avenue, it was like Little Harlem, like the Little Harlem Renaissance, jazz, poetry. I mean, you had folks like Billie Holiday from Baltimore. You had Thurgood Marshall. Y'all need to read about him and his legacy. We had a lot of figures from Baltimore that would make us proud of our African-American heritage. But drugs have just ravaged our city. And then once you add in the factor of drugs, then automatically you're gonna talk about the deprivation and the breakdown of family. Like, nobody stick together in Baltimore. That's one of the reasons why we can't come into a consensus about, what to do with one another, what to do with our communities, because everybody want to be a chief. Nobody want to cooperate. I mean, and Baltimore is too small of a city for anyone to feel like, just like, okay, all right, I might say, well, I hate people from EV. I got like dozens of cousins that live in the village. What good would that do? Okay, I hate East Side. I got cousins that live over East Side. So, my thing is, coming from the standpoint of living outside of Baltimore and looking in, when I was there, I can understand the beef. He from this side, this my side. But looking on the outside end, it's like a lot of stuff is petty. You know what I mean? One thing y'all got to realize, in Baltimore, we all relatives, yo. We all really related to each other, man. If we not blood related, we know somebody who knows somebody who know us. Come on. It's too small of a city. And I think that's the problem too. Look at the building structures. We don't have space. We just all on top of each other. Everybody's angry. It's just crazy. So I don't know what it is. I can't even come into some type of explanation of why things escalate the way that they do. It's a lot of pride. And like I said, like, what's crazy is, like, if I put something up on Facebook, like, something to the extent of, family ain't really family. I got more friends that's family than real family. Everybody from Baltimore push the like button. It's a shame when everybody in the same city can agree that that's just how it is. You see what I'm saying? Like, like living in the South, man, you speak to everybody. You try to be cool with everybody. You try not to take yourself so seriously. But when I pick up that phone and I call somebody from Baltimore, or you talk to such and such, man, I don't mess with him. I ain't dealing with him, blah, 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 blah. And people hold on to grudges and keep stuff going on. That's one of the reasons, man. It's a lot of pride back home. It's a breakdown of family. And like I said, the drug problem, I feel as though the lack of jobs and the lack in drug problems, really, because you got to think, man, when somebody addicted to drugs, that is a real selfish, what do you call a real selfish habit? Because you don't care about nobody. You don't care how, the dope dealer don't care about how it affects the addict or his family. And the actual addict doesn't care how his habits or his cravings or what he has to do to obtain them drugs. He don't take in consideration the hurt and pain that they cause the family. So it's a lot of selfishness going on, and when you dealing with that type of selfishness, you get a spirit of individuality. See, that there's not a community consensus. There's not a collective mindset. There's an individualistic mindset. And that's why a lot of things fail. And what's going on in Baltimore is not really just a Baltimore problem. It's an African American problem. Because like Matt was saying, you go to different cities and you see some of the same things. I mean, it ain't all peachy keen in Atlanta. But I think the difference is you got like in Baltimore, it's like sell dope or you work. That's it. Where Atlanta, you kind of have a little bit more arm room to do what you want to do. And then there's so many people from so many different states, and they all want to come here and they all want to do better for themselves. And so you align yourself with people who want to do better, and everybody has that common goal. Whereas though sometimes, man, when you in Baltimore and you share your dreams with other folks back home, it's like they almost put you down. It's like, you know what I'm saying? There's no support system. There's no support system. We don't support each other. And I feel that's one of the biggest problems. The fact that there's a community breakdown, there's a family breakdown. And like I said, drugs have always been a social ill for our city, man. You know what I mean? And it's like Baltimoreans, like the more you talk about how bad Baltimore is and how tough it is, it's almost certain that you got cats that want to live up to that reputation. Instead of just saying, okay, that's how it is, we don't want it to continue to be like that. They got to prove just how bad and tough it is instead of progression. So I agree 100% with Matt as far as you doing what you have to do. But I also feel like if you want to move, go ahead and move, but also do a self-evaluation. Because if you was a bum in Baltimore, you're going to be a bum anywhere. You know what I mean? And so sometimes the thing is, you may have goals and you might have to move somewhere where you can obtain those goals faster. But of course, Matt's comment was mainly about, the crime and everything like that. And we got to be responsible for each other, man. And that's where it all fails. The lack of responsibility for your fellow man. And that's what it is. We grow up with generations of selfishness. Like I said, even in my family, this one don't like that one. This one don't rock with that one. This one says something, and to the point where, like, I got a brother in the South. He was born and raised in Georgia. And sometimes when I be telling them about different family members I got into it with, or different family that shot family, or, you don't care who it is, he's looking at me like I'm crazy. Like, yo, that's your cousin. That's your brother. And to me, being from Baltimore, it's like, yo, it's normal. It could jump off with anybody, cousin, or brother, or nobody. And that's the thing, yo. It's a weak family foundation back home. It's a weak community foundation back home. It's too much division for a small city. And just if you go back to our history in Baltimore, we had a strong African American consensus in a community, but it's not there no more because everybody either moving out or they just feel like they just feed into that, like they feed into that hopelessness. Hopelessness is something that people wear as a garment. They clothe themselves in hopelessness. That's what they walk around with. Like, you know how you walk around with a pair of jeans or a coat or a jacket? People have clothed themselves with hopelessness. You see what I'm saying? And that's just what it is. So, Matt, that's my piece. I know you and I are friends. So we're going to have some type of dialogue outside of Facebook. But I kind of want to respond to that because I don't like typing. There's some things that I could express easier verbally than I could typing and everything. But that's my piece on it. And I mean, even now, man, you know, with my grandmother just died. So I'm kind of juggling with even going home. You know what I'm saying? I really don't want to go. I felt like when I saw my grandmother, that was closure for me. Because I really don't want to, like, somebody just sent me a picture with my grandmother in a coffin, and I can't even look at that. I've been to mad funerals, been strong for everybody else, but it's something about seeing my grandmother in that coffin like that, yo. You know what I'm saying? And, but it's like this, man. It's so much ups and downs going home sometimes. You go home, man, and you don't know what to expect. Especially from family. You don't know if you're going to go home, you're going to be received well, or this person got an attitude, or just different things. But I guess I'm just praying for my city. And I'm gonna say this to Matt. Matt, continue being an example of how no one's doomed to failure. Cause I love what you're doing, bro. You know, I'm more on the spiritual side of the situation. But I love what you're doing because I know where you came from. I know where you came from. I know how you was, and I know where you live. And I know where you from the terrace. That's a hard area. I'm from the west side too. So you just keep on doing your thing. And I pray for everybody in Baltimore, man. You know, I got folk that just got shot. One of my rest in peace, DeAndre got shot in the back of his head, left for dead. Right up there. And he was living down here, but he just didn't like it down here. We wish he would have stayed. He went back home and now he's dead. So, I mean, that's the main reason why people be talking about, we got to leave, man, you know? And then like you were saying, Matt, you know, violence and this destructive music is filtrated through the media. You know what I mean? And you got people talking about Baltimore. Like, I don't even want to keep talking. I don't want to call it Baltimore Murderland no more because I don't want to put that label on it because people will start owning that label. You understand what I'm saying? That's why I listen to reggae music. That's why I embrace Africa, because I understand that while we hurting each other, we were people that were oppressed and disrespected and treated as nothing. Then we turn around and do each other like that. And that's why you got to get back to our roots, man. So, yo, much love.